Si sondele pila no kolo yelele.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. You can say it once or 100 times or more. You feel a peace inside and it'll open every door. That's the power.
Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to School Matters with me, Sumaya. We're continuing our special editions for matric learners, on-air tuition, exam papers, tips and guidance from qualified educators, seasoned educators, examiners, matric markers. Yes, we got it all here. Well, we are maybe I'll say our fifth paper we're going through. Tonight we're focusing on business studies exams, paper 1 and paper 2, as we approach the final stretch of 2025 matric exams. So grab your pen, settle in, and let's make these last few steps count if you're a business studies learner. And even if you're an educator, so you can pick up tips from another colleague. Tonight, we're joined by Mrs. ABBAS from Northlands Primary, a seasoned business studies educator with years of experience. Welcome to School Matters. We really appreciate you taking the time this evening to be with us.
Thank you, Sumaya.
Just coming in the evening, leaving your family, coming all the way to studio. I know your car could have flown away. That's how windy it's outside. We really appreciate it. And I know our learners are awaiting you to start the business studies papers. But before we continue, how has the exam been thus far at your school?
There were a lot of complaints. They were pleased with some of the papers. Paper ones didn't go as smoothly as they expected.
Yeah, what was that? There was a whole lot of issues with the maths paper.
Apparently it was war.
And also, I know a lot of learners who have been studying from past year papers, there was a whole new system of the papers, the way the papers were set.
Well, actually, it's the same with our levels, our taxonomy levels, level 1, 2, and 3 questioning. It's still the same. I think if you studied enough, you would have been prepared for those papers.
I always say we had it bad when we wrote matric. Now it's it's a little bit more relaxed. I think our names used to be, we're giving our age away. Our names used to be in the paper. Yes. Either it was a senior certificate or an exemption.
Yes.
And knowing me, with my name and surname, you're going through 50, 60 Sumaya cards, and then before you get your one, quite stressful then. Yeah. But now I think it's not exposed to everybody, your results.
No. Huh? Yeah, they collected from the school.
Okay, and so you guys are really stressed. I know the high school educators are really, really stressed, especially when the results are released.
Yes.
So, inshallah, everything will go well. So you'll be starting with business studies paper 1, and then you'll be moving to paper 2.
Yes.
Yeah, you may commence.
Thank you. Good evening, grade 12 business champs. I'm Mrs. ABBAS. Today we're going to polish those business minds and prepare you for the NSC paper 1 and paper 2. Okay, so firstly, let's just cover the topics that we should expect for paper 1. Remember, paper 1 is your business environment and your business operations. With our environments, we have 3 topics: legislation, your strategies, and your business sectors. For your operations, we have HR and quality. Okay, before I move on to content, I'm just going to go through a few tips as to what to look out for, what to do, what not to do. Okay, so when it comes to answering the paper itself, always write your section heading before starting. Example, if you're starting with your essay, write question 6 and business operations, for example. It helps you focus and it reminds the marker of what your content is going to be about. Okay, now let's talk exam techniques. Knowing your content is half the battle. The other half is how you're going to present it. Here are some golden rules. Okay, read the verbs carefully. Identify, list, name means basically just naming the components, the principles, usually one word or a short phrase. When it comes to explain, discuss, elaborate, you have to give a reason with a more thorough meaning and add a little bit more detail. Don't write unnecessary information if the question states name or list or identify. Okay, just stick to what the question requires from you. Use your headings and your numbering. The markers love good structure. Okay, number your answers the same way the question is numbered. It's basically like giving them a GPS to your marking. Time management. Don't spend, example, 20 minutes on a 2-mark question. Manage your time carefully. Always use the time allocation displayed on the cover page as a guide. Don't repeat the question. Go straight into your answer. There's no need to beat around the bush. And use acceptable academic language, okay, as per your notes, as per the DBE notes. Don't panic. Write when you see a long question, take a deep breath, underline the keywords, and plan your answer. So when it comes to business studies, it's important that you have your keywords in your answers. Okay. Don't leave blanks. Even one sentence could earn you a mark, and you never know. Your almost right answer might be the one that takes you to the next level. Use your mark as a guide to know how much to write. Okay, write complete statements to be awarded the full 2 marks for a statement. A point I always stress to my learners is always write to safeguard yourself. Okay. So remember, the marker will mark until the maximum marks have been reached. Example, if a question is for 4 marks, ideally you will need 2 statements. Let's just say you're unsure about your second statement. You are allowed to write a 3rd statement or even a 4th. This is going to ensure that you reach your maximum marks. And you, unless the question states list 5 or name 3 disadvantages, then only will you stick to the requested number of points. Otherwise, you will write to safeguard yourself, basically. Okay. When answering section B and C, remember, write in bullet points. We don't want lengthy paragraphs. Write legibly. No blanks. If you are unsure about a question, leave enough space so that you can always come back to that specific question at a later point. Okay, let's move on to the essay. When it comes to answering the essay, a lot of my learners like to begin their exam starting with the essay. When it comes to the essay, I don't know why essay questions scare many of our learners. This is actually your ticket to a good mark if you handle them well enough. The structure of your essay plays a very important role. Remember, you should be spending plus minus about 30 minutes on any essay. The little extract that comes along with the essay is called a preamble. Please, learners, do not write any statements from the extract. Then no marker is going to give you marks for copying. Okay, so when it comes to your essay, you will have a little extract, a preamble, and that will basically give you an indication of what your 4 bullet points are going to be. The first thing you do when you start with your essay, write down the question number you are choosing. I know majority, for if it's paper 1, we lean more towards question 6. If it's paper 2, here again, we notice that there's a trend where learners lean more towards question 6 in paper 2, where it's the roles options, which is fine. You choose the essay. You remember, when you are going through that paper, you have 10 minutes of reading time. Please make sure you use that 10 minutes wisely. Go through all your options, go through all your questions, look at the questions, look at which question you will be able to score the most amount of marks in. Okay, whether it's question 2 and 3, 3 and 4, or whatever it is. So question 2, if we're looking at paper 1, is going to be only on environments. Question 3 is going to be only on operations, and question 4 is going to be a mix of both. We call it the miscellaneous, where it's going to be on environments and operations. Learners, please remember, if you are choosing question 4, you've got to answer everything under question 4. Don't only answer half. Example, don't only answer the operations and leave out the environments question. If you are choosing question 4, make sure you answer everything under question 4. And when it comes to section C, which is our essay, write down the question number that you are choosing, example, question 5 or question 6. Okay. So when you do get your essay, you write down the question 6, and the first thing you're going to write down is introduction. Okay. So there is a major challenge when it comes to the introduction. What are we writing? What do we write in the introduction? Okay, remember you're going to get 4 bullet points. Those bullet points should be a guide as to what your introduction should be on. Your introduction should relate to any of your 4 bullet points. Okay? And with our introduction, we are looking for a maximum of 2 points for the introduction, 1 mark each. So when it comes to the introduction, example, perhaps if the essay is on HR, or if the essay is on quality, and if we're talking about question 6, and in HR, let's just say they'd ask you to discuss the steps in the recruitment procedure, discuss selection, or discuss the advantages of fringe benefits. Perhaps in the introduction, you could discuss the meaning of recruitment. Okay, but what I do not want you to do is do not write your subheading in your introduction. You have a greater chance of scoring more marks in your subheadings than you would have in your introduction. Okay, so introduction, 2 points, introduce your topic, safeguard yourself. You're more than welcome to write 3 points if time is on your side. Okay, then you start with your subheading, your first bullet point, write down the heading. I tell my learners a minimum of 4 points should be sufficient when it comes to your subheadings. And if we do the math, when you look at the maths, you go into past your papers, you do the maths. Remember, each point is worth 2 marks in essay. When I say points, it needs to be full, valid statements. You cannot write half points or half the sentence and expect a full 2 marks. You've got to write the full statement in order to be awarded your 2 marks. Okay, so write your points, your 4 points. If each point is worth 2 marks, you do the math. 4 points, 2 marks each, that's 8. And we multiply that by our 4 subheadings. That's 8, 16, 24, 32. Already, just with our subheadings, you are able to reach your maximum amount. So with any essay, be it paper 1 or paper 2, you've already reached your maximum. Okay, and then we look at our introduction, your 2 points, and then your conclusion. When we comes to our conclusion, we are looking for 1 point. Here again, write to safeguard yourself. You can write a second point in your conclusion. When it comes to your conclusion, try and end on a positive note. Okay, so related, example, if the essay is on quality, related to something in quality. Therefore, the business is going to gain a competitive advantage. Or therefore, the business will increase its sales. Therefore, the business will increase its profits. It's things like that. Always end on a positive. Don't mention things like, oh, the business is going to lose out on money. Or the business is going to lose out on customers. Always end on a positive note. Okay, then we're looking at examples. Remember your examples. Please don't include your examples in your introduction or your conclusion. Try your best to include your examples in your subheadings. And here again, we are only looking for 2 examples. We call that the originality. Try and write an example for each of your subheading. So when it comes, remember your example needs to, it needs to have a fact. Every fact needs an example. So I suggest write an example in each of your subheadings, or even in 3 of your subheadings. So when we're looking at examples, your examples provide examples to support your statement. And it needs to be based on recent information, current trends, and developments within the past 2 years. Okay, so it's important that you are always reading up on business news, or even when you are revising. Choose one company and run with that company in all of your essays, in all of your topics for both paper 1 and paper 2. Up and company, look at public companies. A good example is Checkers. Checkers is always evolving. They're coming up with creative ideas. They're opening up new branches. They are expanding. The Mr. Price Group as well, a lot of expansion. So those are companies that we can find good examples, be it whether it's on HR, whether it's on quality, ethics and professionalism, forms of ownership, we are able to gather enough examples from a public company. So please make sure that remember when you walk into that exam room, you should already have an idea of which essay you are answering, because you are prepared for that topic. So for example, if it's paper 1, you got your environments and you got your operations. I want to lean more towards operations. Why? There's only 2 topics that I need to master. So 2 topics, it's HR and quality. But please, learners, the mistake a lot of learners make is that, yes, they know the HR, but you need to know quality just as much. Okay, so please make sure that if you are leaning more towards a specific topic, make sure that you master that content. So for a fact, example, if I'm choosing, let's just say, for example, if I'm a learner and I choose to go the environments route, I know for a fact I'm going to answer question 2, I'm going to answer question 4, and question 5. And of course, section A is compulsory. You have to answer all of questions. So please make sure that you master the topic that you lean more towards, just to make things a little bit more simpler for you. I know business studies is a lot of theory and you have to write as per the memo. Okay, so here again, remember your examples, and with your 32 marks from our body of the essay and your 2 marks for you writing the word introduction, giving us 2 points, writing the word conclusion, giving us a point. Then for your analysis means that have you answered all of the 4 subheadings. If you've only answered, let's just say you've only answered 2, you won't score a mark. If you answered all the subheadings, you will score the mark for analysis. The other mark for analysis comes from your facts. If you scored more than 16 for your facts, you will be awarded the mark. If, for example, let's just say you scored 13 for the facts, you will not be awarded the mark. And then we have synthesis. Synthesis is, does your essay have relevance? So each subheading, you know what you're talking about. Example, if the question says, discuss the role of quality circles, and you discussing the benefits of TQM, it's a totally different subheading. It has no relevance. So you will lose a mark for your synthesis. So make sure the subheadings that you are discussing has relevance. Okay. And lastly, your originality. These are your examples. I said it needs to be current. It needs to be within the last 2 years. And a good example will be using any public company that we have to support any of your essays for paper 1 and paper 2.
Well, thank you so much. I'm learning so much about business studies. We'll be taking a short ad break and we will return.
Teaching you something new every day. Radio Ansaar.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
This December, fulfill your Umrah with Show Mirage Travel. We have selected departure and return dates to suit you. Our packages include return flights, visas, guided support, and accommodation, so you can focus entirely on your worship from only 25,999 per person sharing. Seats are limited, so call us today on 031 208 4222 or visit www.miragetravel.co.za to secure your place. Show Mirage Travel, your trusted partner for a blessed journey.
It's not just about the bride, it's about family, community, and celebrating men who make our society strong. Join us for a fun-filled afternoon with the Chill Zone, Kids Corner, and more. Admission is 50 Rand for adults and 20 Rand for kids. You don't want to miss out. Presenting the Ultimate Bride Champion on November the 22nd at Ansaar Radio 207 West Road, Overport. Brotherhood meets competition. Proudly brought to you by the Afternoon Jam. The Afternoon Jam, 3 voices, 1 vibe. At Checkstar, get Toilet Duck Active 750 ml. Take 5 for 100 Rand. Or Dove Soap, get 4, 90 grams. Take 2 for 100 Rand. Offers valid until 9th November 2025. Only at Checkstar, Mount Edgecombe, Durban CBD, and Sparks Road branches. T's and C's apply.
Radio Ansaar, 24/7, 365.
You are listening to School Matters with Sumaya Khan.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, welcome to School Matters with me, Sumaya Khan. Our guest in studio is our business studies educator, Mrs. ABBAS. Well, this is the first time on School Matters, so she registered and she likes the school thus far, and she will be continuing staying in the school. So hopefully next year she will be coming back. Right, you can continue.
Okay, if we move on to section B, remember I did mention use the mark scheme as a guide to know how many points to write. And if you are unsure about the answer, remember leave enough space for it and you can always come back to it at a later point. Learners, when you are revising, try and use a lot of acronyms, mind maps, write your keywords, highlight them. I have learners tell me that sometimes they are sitting in their exam room and they're unable to remember the keywords, but they can actually remember the color of the highlighter that they've used. And somehow at some point in time, the keywords that you've written down will come, it will be much easier for you to try and recall those words. Okay, if we move on to section A. With section A, remember, section A, you are given the answers. You have a better opportunity of scoring the marks. The answers are given to you. It's just a matter of you making the correct choice. With section A, with first one is multiple choice. Learners, please make sure you read the instructions carefully. The instruction will say write only the alphabet. So let's say, for example, if A is legislation and you write instead of writing A as your answer, you are writing legislation, that will be marked wrong. Okay, why? The instruction clearly states write only the alphabet as your answer. So please read your instructions. That will apply for multiple choice questions. That will apply for matching. And when it comes to the word box, write only the word that is in the word box. Example, if the word in the word box was, let's just say, labor relations, and you write the answer as Labor Relations Act, it will be marked wrong. Only the words that appear in the word box is what your answer should be. Okay, so we remember when it comes to multiple choice, you most probably going to have 4 options. I want for you to try and use a process of elimination when it comes to multiple choice. Process of elimination, which one can it not be? So you strike out probably maybe 2 options and then you're left with 2. It narrows down your options so you make a more informed choice. For question 1.2, when it comes to matching, remember you're going to have 5 questions and you're going to have 10 options. For each question, there is the correct answer and something what we call a distractor. I would like for you to identify the distractor in each of your 5 questions. Okay, in that way, it's just basically making sure that you don't choose a distractor as your answer and you're making a more informed choice. So 5 questions, 10 options. For each question, identify your possible answer and your distractor. Look at the 2 options. Look at what's the difference between the 2. Why is this correct? What's different between the 2? And then you make a choice. Do not rush through section A because this is your chance to score easy marks. If we move on to your word box, I said only choose here again 5 questions. You're going to have 10 options. One is going to, for each question, you're going to have a distractor. The distractor is basically there to throw you off guard. Okay, so be wise when it comes to your choices. Don't choose the distractor. Identify and analyze, and before you write your answer down, analyze the questions, analyze your options, and then make a more informed choice. Okay, so if we're looking at paper 1, for paper 1, let's look at quickly at the business environments. You've got your 8 legislations, your skills development Development Act, your LRA, your Triple BE, as much as a lot of learners tend to shy away from these kinds of questions, especially when it comes to question 2 in paper 1, but you still need to have some sort of knowledge. Remember, you are going to answer section A, and you need to have knowledge of your legislation, your strategies, your business sectors. If we're looking at legislation, you've got to know your LRA. What I suggest is look for keywords, like when it comes to LRA, keywords that we look for: trade unions, CCMA, collective bargaining, negotiation, strike action. Look at those keywords and try and implement it in each of your subheadings. So when I say implement it, your impact, your advantages, your disadvantages. Speaking of impact, if the question states discuss the impact of the SDA, please note you can discuss either or. You can discuss only advantages, you can discuss only disadvantages, or you can choose to do both. If the question states discuss the positive impact of the SDA, then you're only going to discuss the advantages. So if it says discuss the negative impact, then it's going to be only the disadvantages. So when it comes to legislation, look for those keywords and try to run with that in it. Ways in which businesses can comply, or penalties if businesses do not comply with the act. Sectors is a relatively easy, one of the shortest topics when it comes to our studying for paper 1. Sectors, your primary, secondary, your tertiary sector. You've also got to know your keywords, what each sector you need to be able to identify. If, for example, you are given a scenario and you need to be able to identify which sector that business is a part of. Business strategies, going through business strategies quickly. Remember the tools we use to analyze each of our environments: your micro, your market, your macro, the extent of control that exists. This we've done in grade 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so if you are posed, remember that question came out in the 2024 paper. It was an easy 6-mark questions. When you are revising, your best bet right now is looking at your notes, choosing the points that you are comfortable with, doing your mind maps, writing down, making up acronyms, and going through past your papers. The more past your papers you go through, the better prepared you will be for the exam. And when I say go through past your papers, treat it as you would an exam. So every business studies exam, example, once you've studied for paper 1, which you are writing on Thursday, give yourself 2 hours, the same amount of time as you would in the normal exam. Give yourself 2 hours and you will treat it as you would an exam. Answer the questions and then you go back, and now you're going to be the marker and look at all the areas that you are good at. Look at where you are going wrong, and then that's where you should spend more time on. Give your attention to the areas that need more concern. Okay, going back to business strategies, your extent of control in each of the environments, the type of strategies, the tools used in each environment. Example, in your micro, we use SWOT. In your market, we use Porter's 5-force model. In our macro, we use PESTLE. Your strategies, your integration, your intensive strategies. If we're looking at integration, integrate to come together. Okay, so we're looking at vertical forward, vertical backward integration. Think along the lines of Simba chips. Example, if we are Simba chips manufacturer, what is it that we need? We need potatoes. Where are we going to get those potatoes from? From the farm, from the potato farm. So what happens if we take over that potato farm? That means we are going backward. So that's vertical backward integration. We are Simba chips. If I decide to take over, okay, so who sells Simba chips? We look at all the people that are selling Simba chips. We have our retailers, Checkers, Spar, Woolworths. They are all retailers of Simba chips. So what if we take over Checkers or we take over Spar? That is vertical forward integration. Okay, so vertical backward, vertical forward. Vertical backward, taking over your supplier. Vertical forward, taking over your retailer. And horizontal integration, taking over a competitor, someone else who manufactures another brand of potato chips. Examples, Woolards or Frymax. If Simba chips take over Woolards or takes over Frymax, that is called horizontal integration. Your intensive market penetration, market development, product development. your defensive strategies, liquidation, retrenchment, divestiture, diversification strategies, conglomerate, concentric diversification, and your horizontal diversification strategies. Okay, make sure you should have. If you are, example, I know a lot of learners lean more towards operations. You should have an idea, or you should have knowledge of your business environments as well. Okay, if we move on to business operations, remember it is only 2 topics. A lot of learners know human resources thoroughly, but they tend to slack on the quality of performance. So when it comes to quality of performance, you need to know just as much when you revise in with HR as well. So your benefits of TQM, the role of quality circles, and please make sure when you are choosing the points that you are going to learn, you don't confuse the points. Okay, so please make sure, the example, as I mentioned before, the question states discuss the role of quality circles. A lot of learners discuss the benefits of TQM. So make sure you are able to identify those different subheadings as well. The quality in each business function, for example. So remember, if the question states discuss the quality indicator in the marketing function, remember, what is an indicator? An indicator is something that's showing you something. So the question is not asking you what is the marketing function. It's asking you what tells you, what shows you that quality is being carried out in the marketing function. So be careful when it comes to answering those types of questions. With HR, remember, HR is made up of different activities. It's made up of recruitment, it's made up of selection, it's made up of interview process, it's made up of your contracts. So please be careful, don't confuse. It's not the same thing. So if the question says, which has happened a lot in the past, the question will state discuss the recruitment procedure, and a lot of learners discuss the selection procedure. Remember, recruitment starts with identifying the need for a vacancy, and it ends with whether the business is choosing either internal or external recruitment. It does not have anything to do with the interview process or informing candidates. That is a selection process. So be careful, you are able to differentiate between all of your HR activities. Moving on to paper 2. Paper 2, I see the trend is leaning more towards business roles. A lot of learners choose business roles, but here again, I must stress to you, you still have to have a good knowledge of your business ventures. Okay, so if we go into business ventures, remember management and leadership. When you are revising through your past year paper 2s, make sure, look for trends, look for questions that always appear. Like if we're moving back, just going back to paper 1, if you have noticed, when it comes to strategies, 2 questions that's always almost asked in every paper: the evaluation of strategies and the strategic management process. If you go in through past year exams, look at those questions, make sure you are able to answer those 2. Okay, very popular, very common in almost every exam. Management and leadership, know your different styles of leadership, how it is applied in the workplace as well, and you should be able to give examples just in case this comes out as in any of your topics in that for that matter, paper 1 or paper 2, you should be able to give examples for each topic. Investment securities, know your different types of investments. Remember, what is an investment? An investment is where we put our money in, where we get a better return. If I'm putting 10,000 Rand in, I expect a 12 or 13,000 Rand return. It doesn't make sense for me to put in 10,000 only to receive 8,000. Remember, put in your money where you're going to get something much more out at the end of the day. So investment securities, knowing how to calculate for paper 2, how to calculate simple interest, compound interest as well. You need to have a knowledge of that. Investment insurance, the principles of insurance, the difference between insurance versus assurance, presentation and data response. Okay, the different types of visual aids are very popular questions is where they ask you to or discuss the role of the presenter. Remember, we have the role of the presenter before the presentation, during the presentation, and after the presentation. Make sure you are able to differentiate between the three. Do not confuse yourself. Read through the questions carefully before you answer, okay? Because a lot of the times you are rushing through and what ends up happening is that you end up writing the incorrect thing, whereas you would have known if you just spent a little bit more time reading through the questions. So when you have your reading time, you're reading through the questions. Then you read it for the second time when you are answering. Remember, you can underline the keywords. Presentation and data response, different types of visual aids. Remember, if the question states discuss the role of the presenter during or before the presentation, before also means in preparing for the presentation. There was a question in one of the past year papers, discuss the role of the presenter when preparing for the presentation. And a lot of learners had discussed what the role of the presenter is during the presentation. Okay, so preparing means before the presentation. During the presentation is when the actual presentation is done. Example, do not hide behind the equipment. Make sure that you read your points. And after the presentation, this we usually call our feedback session, where we are answering questions from our audience itself. Forms of ownership, your different forms of ownership, the advantages of each form of ownership. Also, please remember the characteristics of each form of ownership is different from the advantages and the disadvantages of each form of ownership. Also, the factors that contribute towards the success and the failure of a business. Please make sure you are able to, you have good knowledge of that. If we're looking at paper 2 for business roles, okay, ethics and professionalism. Our first one, the difference between ethics and professionalism. Your King Code of Ethics. Remember, we use RAT or TAR, transparency, accountability, responsibility. If we're looking at transparency, we think about a window where it's clear, it's something that we can see through. So all decisions must be transparent. If we're looking at our types of unethical or unprofessional behavior, whatever acronyms you have to try and remember. Example, sexual harassment, unauthorized use of business resources, or abuse of work time. Those are all unprofessional. And your unethical is pricing of goods in rural areas, unfair advertising. And when it comes to, remember, it's tax evasion or taxation evasion. Don't just state taxation. Okay, the word evasion must be there. So it's called tax evasion or taxation evasion. Strategies or the recommendations to deal with each type of unethical and unprofessional business practice. Creative thinking and problem solving. When this topic is tested, here again, we will notice when it comes to past year papers, 2 questions that's almost always asked. It's either one or both. Discuss the advantages of creative thinking or discuss the benefits of creative thinking in the workplace, and also ways in which businesses can stimulate creative thinking, or ways in which businesses can encourage an environment for creative thinking. So those are 2 questions that you should have a good knowledge of. Remember, it's quite popular in most of our exams. When it comes to creative thinking and problem solving, if this has to come out here again in an essay, there's a lot of examples that we can use. A lot of businesses that's coming up with creativity, new things that they are doing, product development, ways in which they are moving forward, ways in which they are expanding their business as well. So when it comes to creativity and problem solving, there are a lot of examples that we can use. Problem solving, the problem solving cycle, your problem solving techniques, how to apply the technique, the advantages and the disadvantages of each technique as well. If we have to do the problem solving cycle, whatever acronyms that you have that will suit And remember, sometimes when it comes to your points, you may have maybe up to 20 or 18 points. As I mentioned, make sure that you choose the easiest points that you will be able to remember. Team performance and conflict management. Okay. Team performance. Remember, you need to know your stages of team development, your forming, storming, norming, performing, and your adjourning phase. So I usually say F for first, F for forming, S for second, S for storming, and think about a storm. That is when there's a lot of chaos. And when it comes to chaos, we usually relate that to conflict in the workplace. So, in your second stage or in your storming stage is usually when conflict will arise. Okay. And then your third stage, which is your norming stage. Remember, after the conflict, we don't just allow the conflict to take over. We need to try and come to some sort of an agreement. And another word for agreement we use is consensus. So in your norming stage is when we reach a consensus. And then your next stage, which is performing, that is when the team is able to perform its best without much supervision from your leaders. And then your last stage is your adjourning stage, where the team dissolves after they have reached their goals or objectives. Conflict management. Remember, there's a difference between conflict and a grievance. A conflict basically is a disagreement between two members or two employees, or maybe an employee and a manager or a supervisor, whereas a grievance is a complaint that an employee has in the workplace. Okay, so a conflict is a disagreement, and a grievance is when they have a complaint in the workplace. Going on to human rights, inclusivity, and environmental issues. Learners, please be careful. Human rights versus social rights versus economic rights. These are all three different. Make sure that you are able to differentiate between the three. Environmental issues, inclusivity, your diversity when it comes to culture, language. Remember, in your exam, you are going to, for every question, you're going to be given a scenario, and you need to be able, remember, once you read the scenario, you should already anticipate the types of questions that you are going to be asked. So you should have an idea of what your answer is going to be already. When it comes to human rights, inclusivity, and environmental issues, remember we have the role of the role of the employer in protecting human health. We have the role of the health and safety rep, and we have the role of the employee. Please, here again, make sure you are able to differentiate between those three subheadings. Don't confuse yourself. So, example, if the question says or states discuss the role of the health and safety rep, remember it's the health and safety rep is just there to identify potential dangers, whereas it's the responsibility of the employer to make sure that the employees have protective equipment or protective gear. Also, another what can I say? Another confusion that a lot of learners have is when it comes to human rights, when it comes to CSR on communities versus the impact of CSR on a business. Make sure you are able to identify between those two. And social responsibility, the difference between the two. Social responsibility, the responsibility an individual has, and CSR versus CSI. Remember, CSR versus CSI. CSI, corporate social investment, is more long-term. Example, we're looking at rural development. CSR, we're looking at how we can maybe donate to schools, and more short-term examples.
Well, time just goes. Inshallah, next year we're doing 2 hours, definitely. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it, even though I never do business studies. Now that we come to the end of our program, I'd like to thank our guest, Mrs. Abbas, for being here with us, and a special thank you for our tech Asi for making the show possible. Any shout out to your learners?
Can I just do a shout out to my family and friends? Thank you for all the love, support, and messages of encouragement. To my NGHS family, thank you guys for the positivity. You make my days a whole lot sweeter. And to my learners, the class of 2025, I know the pressure is real right now. The notes, the past papers, the late nights, and that one friend who always saying I haven't studied. But listen carefully. You've got this. Stay focused and finish strong.
Well, to all the matric learners, every learner busy with assessments and exams, may the Almighty make it easy for you. You got this again, as you said. So when life gives you 100 reasons to break down and cry, show life that you have 1,000,000 reasons to smile and laugh and stay strong. For me, Sumaya Khan, Assalamu alaikum.
You feel a peace inside and it'll open every door. That's the power of remembering Allah. It's the best way to purify your heart.
This Azan is sponsored for the Isale Sawab of Marhum Muhammad Farooq